could be in church all your life, man, and you could know how to clap your hands, you could know how to do your dance, you could know how to sing your song, but you could still be living wrong. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, I knew formality, man. I know how to Ishata glory, yeah, I could do that, because I was raised up in it. But I didn't really know who God was until I lost my eyesight, man. Come to find out, I had diabetes, and she told me I could beat it if I just lose weight. You know what I mean? And so, but she told me at the time that I went to see her, my glucose was like 1,000. You know what I mean? She said, man, it's a wonder you ain't in somebody's bed in a coma somewhere. She said, I don't believe this. Lost my eyesight, man. I couldn't see the time on my watch. I couldn't see none of that, man. And I flew to California, man. My mom prayed for me, and she got this blood stall, and she used to lay her hands on me, and she prayed. And I really went blind, man. I mean, 90% blind. I couldn't see, doc. And man, and ain't nothing like losing your eyesight, being able to see, then lose your eyesight, man. And when I left Oakland, man, I asked God that if He restore my eyesight, man, and heal my body, that I would really get back and do the right thing. Man, when I left California, my eyesight was back, man. I was healed. I started losing weight, man, and I got healed, man. And I realized, wow, I didn't know who Jesus was, man, until I went through a life-threatening situation. Then I realized who Jesus really was. I really had to lean and depend on God, man, at that time. And that's when I realized who Jesus was. I was born in Dallas, Texas, right there at Parkland Hospital. Um, I don't remember too much about Dallas and Texas, other than, being born there and, being in a little house there with my father and my mother. Okay. And at that time, just my twin brothers, Roderick and Frederick. Us three, being raised around there and growing up at that time, my father and mother had a real abusive relationship. Mm-hmm. So, at the end of the day, I remember a bunch of drama, a bunch of chaos. But at the end of the day, man, I remember feeling like I was loved, you know what I mean? But still, at the end of the day, it was a real dark time for me growing up in Dallas, Texas.
So how many sisters and brothers do you have?
I have 5 brothers. No, I have 5 sisters and 4 brothers. Wow. Then my mother got married again, and her husband at the time had 3 kids. So they came in, and I still, love them as my biological brothers and sisters because we were all raised real close together. So, you add what? 5, you get 9, 10, 11, 12. It was 12 of us growing up in the house, man.
That's a big family.
Yes, sir.
So all of those kids, where do you line up in all of those kids?
Yeah, I believe I'm if I bring in the stepchildren, I believe I would run in like number 7.
Number 7.
Yeah.
Okay, wow. Are all of you all musically inclined?
Yes, the 5 brothers and the 5 sisters and the 4 brothers are musically inclined. The stepchildren not really musically inclined, but they love to watch and support. So
okay,
yeah.
Okay, where did that foundation of music come from with all of you?
Well, my mother's side of the family loved music, and also my father's side, which is the Monk side. The Monk family is known for their music, talent, and sports abilities. Okay. So you'd have to really give that to the Monk side of the family. But at the end of the day, the Ball Trip side of the family, which is my mother's side, was very talented as well. They were musicianly talented. Okay. My mother's side of the family.
Okay. I know you mentioned, growing up with your father and your mother, it was really kind of dark time,
right,
with a lot of domestic violence and things of that nature. What did that consist of when it came to to your father and your mother? Like, why was it, so dark when it came to their relationship?
Me being at that age, I really didn't understand what it was, but as I got older, and what we have to realize is there's a side B and a side A to every story. You know what I mean? And my mother, I heard my mother's side for so long because my mother raised us, and as I got older, I began to get in touch with my father, and I began to hear his side of the story. So there was a side B to the side A. However, what I come to realize is that, it was pretty much when your family is pushing you to do one thing, which I'm talking about my mother's side. They're steering her, and having her think in certain ways. And here's a man who's trying to be. This is what I gathered. Here's a man trying to be independently family oriented. And at the end of the day, you got a tuggle. It's a tug of war. She don't know if she want to let go of her mother and father and her family, and rely on the support of this man, and him being irritated because him knowing that he's a man and he's going to take care of things. I believe just caused that train wreck there that was going on.
As a child, like, how long did this, for you to understand it was domestic violence, like, what did you see, like, during those times to make you feel, this is what's going on?
Well, I'm going to be just real transparent, man. When I was 11 months old, I don't remember this, but and see, the thing about me is, man, I'm kind of different because I can remember certain things, but I don't really I can't just, tell you what happened with him. But, he used to beat my mother, you know what I mean? And, at the end of the day, I was 11 months old, and I remember him. I don't remember him, but I was told that he beat me while she was beating her and beating me at the same time while she was holding me, man. And that at that time knocked the eye out her socket. The eye and all kind of stuff, real bad. You know what I mean? And so at the end of the day, man, it was kind of rough. In those times for my mom. Yeah.
And so, like, you remembering that at 11 months old, like, how often did it persist?
I mean, now I do know that when you're young, you can remember those horror moments. You know what I mean? You don't know what's going on, but I do remember a bunch of drama going on at the house, man. A bunch of real scary moments, me growing up, and when the car pull up, you run and jump under the bed or jump under your covers, and just being scared, man. Pops to me was like the boogeyman.
Wow.
Right.
So during that time, like, were there any, like, good memories in the household? Despite of the negative side, what are some good memories that you had?
Oh, when it was good, man. And like I say, I remember sitting on the porch with my dad, man. Just really, really enjoying. Being a son to a dad, man. We had the dad and son moments, but at the end of the day, the bad outweighed the good in that area.
And, like, what? Don't want to tell your age. What year, what decade we're talking about going around at this time?
Oh man, I had to be.
Late 70s.
I left Dallas, man. Me and my brother Melvin, we left. I had to be 5 years old. 5 or 6 when I left Dallas, man. So it was in that time frame. And I ain't afraid to tell my age, man. God been good to me. I'm 57 years old.
Amen. So how does the transition go from Dallas to California?
Oh, man. Like I said, in the midst of all that abuse, my mother had her sister come down, and she made a scapegoat. She had a plan, man. Which we didn't know it was a plan at the time. She sent me and my brother Melvin back to California with my auntie Ann, and at the end of the day, we went back to California with her. She got her. I remember seeing my mother, stacking up money and putting a little money aside and counting her pennies and quarters on the table, and so when my auntie came down, I believe my father just thought my auntie was coming down to visit, and she was coming to get me and Melvin, and we were going to go back and just enjoy the summer with my auntie. But when we went back to enjoy the summer with my auntie, we never returned back to Dallas. You know what I mean? So, it was really a scapegoat, man. And, she was getting us out of there one by one.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, so that's how we got to California. That's how I got to California.
Okay. And you were 5 years old?
I had to be 5, 6, somewhere in there.
Okay. You had family already up in California?
Yes, my mother's whole family had moved to California, so I guess she really wanted to get out of there anyway. You know what I mean? And like I said, she was being coerced to come on here out of here. You live so much better here in California. You can live better, and so that's what she did. She after being treated and going through what she went through, she just decided to up and move, man, and that's what we did. Wind up going to California, Oakland, California, by the way.
Oakland, California.
Yeah.
So explain your time in your early years in California. Now that you're coming from Dallas, Texas to California, what were those years like? Restarting a life in another state.
It was hard coming up in the city of Oakland. No, man, we call that Coakland, California, man. At the end of the day, me, once we got off the bus in Oakland, man, I remember seeing my uncles and aunties, and, man, at the risk of sounding egotistical, I was like the little chubby family favorite, man. So when I jumped off the bus, everybody said, Derrick, Derrick, Derrick. I got out the bus, man. I saw my aunties, and everybody had afros, man, and jeans with the bell bottoms, and, man, it was a new day. It was a new world, you know what I mean? And, that's when I learned about pimping and, players and whores and, man, the weed and the coke. And, Oakland was just a whole new world, man. Me growing right there on East 21st Street in Oakland, California, man. 1750 East 21st Street.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, you have a lot of kids that grow up in that environment. They're not the average young kid that, that's used to playing video games and things of this nature. Those kids that are growing up in those kind of environments, they grow up real fast. They're really grown men by the time they reach 12 years old.
Absolutely.
So, was that similar to you, how you were raised, going to Oakland, California, being around all of that, seeing all of that? Did you really grow up real fast at that young age?
I really did, man, and, running around with different kids, Now, when I coming from Dallas, Texas, man, I was just a jolly little chubby, loved. I was timid, man, But when I got to Oakland, man, you had to learn how to fight and fend for yourself. I mean, the little chubby, cute, want to be high. Hey, everybody, hi. Changed real fast, man, going to school and getting slapped and kicked in your butt, hey, man, you better. So I had to toughen up real quick, man, and, got the name Chili Mac, man, I inherited that name, man, it made me a goon, man, growing up in Oakland.
So coming from Dallas, Texas, being a timid little, chubby kid, coming to Oakland, California, what made you want to get into the dope game?
I guess peer pressure. Peer pressure, man. I saw a lot of things I wanted, man, and a lot of brothers that I knew. And then we had a cold dope dealer stayed upstairs from us in those projects, man. We won't say any names but everybody know Duro. I mean, he was famous for it, so we could mention his name. But the other brother who was a dope dealer stayed upstairs from us, man, and I used to see 10 speeds and Nike tennis shoes on the back of the balcony and stuff, man. And he took a liking to me, man. And I'd look up and I'd be like, man, who's Nikes? You want those Nikes, boy? And he'd throw them down to me, you know what I mean? I was, man, whose 10 speed is that? You want this 10 speed? Come get it, and from all that stuff, man. And then I start seeing him driving Rolls Royces and, man, gold chains and draping and women. And, man, he went from being just a regular guy, man, to handcuffs with briefcases with money on it. If a brother gonna put a handcuff with a briefcase on it, he gonna give his life for that briefcase. You know what I mean? So I knew he became real important when I saw that, man. And from watching him, I said, man, look, he driving Bentleys, he driving stuff, man. I want this, man, because Impalas and Sevilles was real hot at that time in Oakland, man. And I wanted mine. I wanted one. I wanted my piece of the pie.
So is he the one that turned you out?
No. I had a friend, man, that I was going to school with, and same thing. I'm looking at him. I'm looking at the jury. I'm looking at the BMWs. I'm looking at the, and I'm like, oh no, man, I gotta, okay, no, working at McDonald's ain't gonna get this. You know what I'm saying? So, I went to his house one day and told him, say, man, look, I want to get down, man. Let me get in it. And he told me, he said, man, get out of here, Chili Mac. He the one named me Chili Mac, man. Get out of here, Chili Mac. Man, you better go on the stage somewhere and sing, boy. Go get you a microphone and sing. You know what I mean? Because he knew that, I was talented. But at the end of the day, I knew I was broken talented. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, man, he started me out with a quarter ounce, man. I went from a quarter ounce on up and up and up and up, man.
How old were you?
I had to be about, when I first got into the dope game, man, I had to be about, 15, 16.
And at this time, I recall you saying on one point that your grandfather was a minister.
No, my grandfather was a deacon at the church, man.
Deacon, okay.
And, my uncles and aunties, had a band, and my uncles was wannabe pimps. You know what I'm saying? Most of them was trying to be players and stuff like that. And at the end of the day, so I would see them play. They had a band in the back room, man, called Natural Explosion, and they was doing their thing, man. They was doing little clubs around Oakland. But I mean, in that time, people would come around to the house, because wherever music is, music draws, man. And they could really play. They could really get down. So at the end of the day, that's when I started seeing the weed, and how to roll a joint, and the boxes of dope under the beds, from them wanting to get high when they playing and jamming. And, at the end of the day, man, my grandfather was there in that house too, back to him. And he would get up every morning, well, not every morning, but every day, every night, he would be going down to this church on the corner, man, called St. Paul Church of God in Christ, man. Mm-hmm. And, every now and then I would go from watching and my uncles, them jamming and smoking weed and doing whatever drugs they wanted, having women in the crib, to going down the street to having church with my grandfather and watching him cry out to God and praying to God, man. So that's where you get that mixture of thug and church in my life, man, because I was going to church with him, then coming back and living in Babylon with the uncles and aunties.
What made you want to go to church with your grandfather in the midst of all of, you in the game and stuff like this?
Music, man. Okay. I would go down there and they had instruments at the church, man. They had guitars and pianos and, tamarines and singing and stuff, man. And I like the groove, man. Ever since I was a little boy, I loved the beat of the drum. So, I would, and then, they had the girls too, you know what I'm saying? So I fell in love with a couple of girls at the church, and so I go down there, and that's what drew me to, wanting to go to church with grandpops.
Did you become a musician at the church?
Absolutely, okay. Man. I started out playing what was I playing? Playing the drums. Everybody started out playing the drums, you know what I'm saying? And went from the drums to the guitar, and just never really got good at drums or guitar, but, those were my loves, so, and singing.
And what did your musician of choice was, the organ or the keyboard?
My instrument of choice was definitely the guitar. Okay. I wanted to play the guitar.
The reason why I asked you, because I know you playing keys.
Uh-huh.
How did you get to that point?
What happened with the piano thing, man, is that, it's a funny story. We had an organist, man, by the name of Calvin Dixon. Bad boy, man. And one day Calvin went to a club one night and came back, and, man, he was out of his mind, man. I mean, just walking around, drilling at the mouth, and, but now, even though he was messed up, I think somebody put a Mickey in his drink, man, and even though he was messed up, this cat could still play, you know what I mean? But it didn't look good being, slobbing out of your mouth and, just out, and you on the organ and could still play. And so, man, our church at the time needed a musician, man. And it's funny because I got on the organ, man, and it seems like God transferred the gift. from Calvin to me, man, and almost overnight, just started playing.
Before then, you was just a drummer and a guitar player.
Drummer and a guitar
You never
player.
played with the keys.
Never played with the keys.
And overnight, you all of a sudden you know how to play.
It was almost overnight, man.
Wow.
That it clicked. My brother showed me how to do the Church of God in Christ run. Do 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 do.
Yeah.
Then I do, and one day do 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 do. Yeah, it just clicked at one time, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
So overnight, you just start playing the keys.
God did it, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
So in the midst of all that, you're still in the streets, but you're still a musician at the church.
That's right.
Like, how far did you get in the drug game?
Oh man, I got in it so much that I had to leave Oakland. I got in it so deep, messed up some money, man, and had some folk looking for me, man. My life got threatened. I made quite a bit, man, doing what I was doing as far as a hustler. But, I knew that there was only two things was going to happen to me in that thing. My grandmother told me one time, and I got to say this, man, because my grandmother gave me some of the wisest game in the world. She told me, she said, son, come here. And see, I was my grandmama's baby. And she called me Cat, man. She said, Cat, come here for a minute. I say, okay. She said, let me talk to you. And she pulled me over to the side, and she said, now I know what you're doing out here. They tell me, they tell me what you're doing. She said, but I want you to know one thing. She said, now, Derrick, you're going to get the same time for that little stuff as you will for that big stuff. So if you're going to do it, and you're going to be out here, be the best drug dealer you can be. I said to myself, well, Granny Cole. I said, but at the end of the day, she telling the truth. You know what I mean? So I stepped it up, I say, okay, well, let me go get her because she about right, man. I'm getting the same time for that little dope.
It sounds good, but she don't know what she just did.
Right. Oh, man, she made me amp the thing up, man. But then at the end of the day, getting up there and, just, messing up, man, and not doing things correctly, man, I wind up losing dope and losing money and getting hooked on the same supply. And everybody know you don't get high on your own supply. You know what I mean? And messed around and messed up some money, man, and had to get out of Oakland.
Wow.
I got my ghetto pass revoked.
Can you touch on that a little bit?
When you say touch on it, you mean
well,
about how did I get
were looking for you? Can you touch on it a little bit? What happened with all that?
Oh yeah, I can tell you the whole story, man. What happened was, I had messed up the money, and I was standing out there in the parking lot, and I saw this little Hyundai pull up, and it was the cat whose money I messed up. You know what I mean? But now when the Hyundai pulled up, it was like the little clown car. All I saw was him driving. But when the car pulled up, and it pulled up right at my feet, man, he jumped out. Another brother jumped out. Now, I know these cats are shooters. They killers. You know what I'm saying? Another brother jumped out, and he walked up to me and say, what's up, Chili? I said, hey, man, what's happening, man? You got that money, man? And I was like, I don't have it right now, man. I said, I'm probably need a little while to get it, man. You know what I mean? And, he told me, that's the way he would do. Well, man, I'm going to give you the Wednesday, man, to get my money, man, and the other cats looking at me like, yeah, like, you got to Wednesday to come up with the money, you know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, man, he gave me the Wednesday. I was on the bus Tuesday. Getting all out of there, man. I was like, let me get up out of here, boy. This finna get crazy. You know what I'm saying? See, and I knew they had just shot a brother and messed his whole leg. Had his leg amputated. So I knew these guys wasn't playing, man. So, I said, let me get on out of Oakland, man. And I moved to Las Vegas, Nevada, man, from Oakland.
Moved to Las Vegas, Nevada.
Uh-huh.
By yourself?
No, well, yeah. Now here's the funny part about that, man. Let me show you how God had his hand on my life and was involved with me through all of it. I didn't have the money, man, to get out of there. You know what I mean? Because like I said, I started using the drugs at the time, man, and so I was like, man, I got to get out of here. So my wife at the time, man, helped me, called a friend, and they gave me some money, and the money they gave me was enough money to get to Sacramento, California, man. And so I got on the bus from there, from Oakland, and went to Sacramento. Now, when I got to Sacramento, I didn't have no more money, man. I'm out. You know what I mean? And when I got here, when I got to Sacramento, I ran into some other musicians that knew me because, man, I got pretty famous with playing the organ and singing around Oakland, man. And us being signed to Fantasy Records there in Oakland at the time, me and my brothers, so we had become professional musicians and singers, even as I was selling dope. You know, understand what I'm saying? And so at the end of the day, I get to Sacramento and I ran into some friends, man, and they were like, "We know a church who needs some musicians, da 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 da." So he made a phone call, and at the end of the day, the pastor said, "Okay," and I told him my problem and what I was going through. I was being real straight with him, and he let me play for his church there for a while in Sacramento. So I wound up playing for the church there and staying with his daughters. He had a couple of daughters who he said, that I could stay with, and wind up, man, the daughters was doing drugs too. You know what I mean? I don't think the pops knew it, but they were doing the drugs and stuff, man. So long story short, I had to leave Sacramento because I didn't want to. Man, at that time, I'm basically through with trying to be high and all that. But I get ready to leave Sacramento, and I look in the phone book, man, and I say, God took my hand and ran down the phone book. This is how God always blessed my life. And I ran down the phone book, man, and it said a church, the name of a church. And I called the church, and the preacher said, "We're in revival tonight, man, and we don't have a musician." Because when I called, I said, "I'm a musician and I'm in town," and da 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 da. He said, "Well, I need a musician tonight because we're in revival." He said, "What's your pastor name?" I told him my pastor name, Bill Levias, out of Oakland, California. He said, "I know the Levias brother." So he called Bill Levias and he said, "Bill Levias, do you know Derrick Monk?" And my pastor there, "Yeah, Derrick, a good guy," because my pastor didn't know what I was doing. You know what I mean? He said, "Yeah, he's good, but yeah, he can play. He can really play," And so the preacher then at that time told me, he said, "Come on, we're going to send somebody to come on and get you, and we'll get you a room for the night." And that's how the Sacramento thing happened, man. From me getting off the bus there in Sacramento and looking in the phone book, and one thing led to another, and then I wind up being with the pastor's daughters there at their house, and come to find out that they were on dope and stuff, man. And I just wanted to I was tired of that life at that time. So I called this other preacher, man, by the another apostle who I had played for. This is funny because God had already had everything set up, man. I called this apostle, man, that I was playing for, Apostle the Cure, out of Los Angeles, California. And he was in revival. And he told me to come on, go with him. And he made a phone call to a lady out of Las Vegas by the name of Prophetess Amanda Irvin. And a Prophetess Amanda Irvin needed a musician, so I left Sacramento to go play for Prophetess Amanda Irvin, and through Prophet the Cure out of Los Angeles calling her. And that's how I got to Las Vegas.
And how long are you in Las Vegas at this time?
I played in Las Vegas at Second Baptist Church, which is probably the hugest Baptist church in Las Vegas at that time. Pastor Davis was the pastor there at that time, and I was the minister of music there for maybe about a year and a half at Second Baptist Church. And I met Apostle McCoy while living there in Las Vegas.
Wow, tell me about that story.
Yeah, I met Apostle McCoy. I began to play for for Pastor Davis at Second Baptist, and I knew a brother by the name of Simi Richards, who was a preacher out of Las Vegas. And Simi Richards, and I was going with this model in Las Vegas by the name of Paula McDonald. Her sister was a model, and all of them was real tall. And at the end of the day, she told me, she said, "There's an ex-pimp coming in town, and he can really preach. He's anointed. God has changed his life, but he's an ex-pimp. He's from the streets, from the same life as you." And, I'm a hustler. I'm like, man, ain't nobody want to, wow, man. Pimp. Ain't nobody want to go hear no pimp. You know what I mean? I said, ex-pimp out of Denver, Colorado, man, please. And so she finally coerced me to go into that revival that night, man. And once I got to the revival, we pulled up on the yard, man, and I heard this roar coming out of this church, man. I mean, the ground was rumbling. You know what I mean? I'm like, who is this, man? You know, and I mean, just cold preaching, man. And so, I couldn't wait to get inside the church, man. You know, I'm like, I want to see who this is, you know. And so we walked in the church, man, and I saw this brother, man. This brother was preaching. He wasn't just preaching, he was preaching. You know what I mean? I'm like, okay, now this is serious. And he was preaching a word that I was familiar with, a word that was hitting directly at me, man. And so, I was like, wow. I said, man, this brother bad. You know what I mean? And so God spoke to me, man, while I was sitting there. I told you God had always spoke to me. He was always moving for me. And God told me, I want you to travel with him. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, travel with him. So while he was preaching, I knew from being in church all my life, I know when you're about to close. You know what I'm saying? I said, man, I'm going to go back. I'm going to talk to this brother. You know what I mean? And so I walked back and went in Simi Richards' office. And when the apostle got through preaching, Apostle McCoy, he came into that office there. And he just started pulling off his clothes and handing them to me. You know what I mean? And I'm wringing them out and putting them up. And, so, he was like, he asked Simi Richards, who was the pastor there, he said, who is this brother? And, but I knew Simi because I had been going around, so I wasn't a stranger to him, but I was in his office and I shouldn't have been, but I should have been because it all worked out. You know what I mean? And I told Apostle McCoy, I said, man, God want me to travel with you. And, I didn't tell him I was a musician, didn't tell him I was anything. I said, God want me to travel with you. And the man of God told me, he said, well, you give me a couple of days and let me pray about it. I'll be here for a couple of days and we'll see what God tell me. You know what I mean? And I said, yes, sir. So I said, I got to go to Los Angeles, because I had to play for a revival in Los Angeles because the lady I was going with was Paula. She was an evangelist, and I was going to play for her in Los Angeles. But I said, God wanted me to play for him. And he said, well, let me pray about it. And when I got back from Los Angeles, man, I was at such a low. I was at such a low. I mean, I called the apostle when I got back, and I said, Apostle McCoy, I said, what did God say? He told me, he said, God told me to take you with me and treat you and love you like a son. And that's what he did, man. He took me in and he loved me as a son. And, like I said, I didn't want to get to crying now. See, you gonna start some stuff.
Oh, man.
But at the end of the day, but at the end of the day, that was a life turning point for me, to get with the man of God at that time.
Wow.
Yeah, so.
Wow. Man, that's a blessing, man.
Yeah.
What was he preaching that night, if you don't mind me asking?
I don't recall what he was preaching, but whatever he was preaching was hitting me dead in the head. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I know it had to be about redemption, and getting yourself together. So, the funny part about that is that I had to be hearing from God because he told me that on his way, Apostle told me that on his way from Augusta to Las Vegas, him and his minister of music at the time was parting ways or going through some changes. And the apostle didn't know I played. He didn't know I played till I got to Augusta. You know what I mean? He just thought I was a brother that was traveling with him. But he told me that he had prayed and asked God to send him somebody, another musician. And I was the one that God sent, to be there at that time, man. And when I got there and I began to play and sing, he was like, wow, I see what that's all about now. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so it all worked out, man. You mind if I get some tissue, man? I'm a little teary-eyed at this time.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thank you.
Man, no problem.
Appreciate you.
Man, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So
I'm,
overnight, your situation turned from you being at that low, whatever that low was, to now you're and now at this time, where is he? Where's like is he in Oklahoma or
no,
Carolina?
he was in
Augusta.
North South Carolina, but the church was in Augusta, the Augusta church. I the funny part about that, man, is I knew that God was going to do something different when I looked down at the ticket. I looked at the ticket. The ticket one way was $1,500. You know what I mean? And I'm like, ain't nobody ever spent no $1,500 on me to travel nowhere. You know what I'm saying? And this is the first time me being on the plane. And then when I got off the plane with him, I, the car that pulled up to pick us up, man, looked like a spaceship. You know what I mean? I'm like, okay, this is a different thing, man. And I just, man, but at that point, I was changed, man. I didn't. God will put you in a situation, man, where you just get tired of yourself. And I was at that point to where I was tired of myself, and I wanted to change, man. And I remember one day, I think this was the final test that I went through for pastor or the apostle to know that I was serious about it. He gave me $2,500 one time accidentally. I don't believe he meant to give me $2,500. You know what I mean? And I looked in my pocket, man. I'm like, whoa, he didn't mean to do this. You know what I mean? So I called him, man, after he dropped me off at the hotel. I said, Apostle, I said, man, I got about $2,500 in my pocket. You know what I mean? He said, oh, yeah? I said, yeah, man. He said, well, what you want to do with it is yours, If you I say, man, no, it's yours. I have it for you in the morning. You know what I mean? He said, well, okay, if you got it in the morning, I'll be there. So he came to pick me up and I gave it to him, and he was like, okay, all right. So come to find out, he told me I gave you just enough money that if you was gonna mess up and go home, you had enough to get back. I was like,
yeah, just enough to do that.
Yeah, I was like, nah, man, that was your money. And then, like I said, I wasn't playing, man. I wanted to change, and so I've been with him, man, ever since, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
So coming from Dallas, Texas, Oakland, California, Las Vegas, Nevada, now through the events of time and God's predestinated will, now you're residing in Augusta, Georgia.
Right.
Through God telling you to travel with this man, Apostle Derrick McCoy.
Right.
Now, what was that like traveling with him? Him taking you under his wing. What was that time like?
Oh man, like I said, my whole life, man, changed. We went from flying all over the place, London, Germany, just man, everywhere, every city, But see, God has already showed me, man. When I left Oakland, I was asleep one day. I got this gift of prophecy on my life, man. That's really, really strong. And as I had my eyes closed, I saw Delta airplanes just lined up, man. The noses of them. And I knew right there, and I told my wife before I got ready to leave Oakland, I said, man, I'm going to be flying all over the place. And she was like, okay. You know what I mean? Right. I believe that, And I was like, I will be flying all over the place. And so that's what happened, man. When I got with Apostle McCoy, that prophecy that I saw came into fruition. We began to fly all over the place, man, and just be with the man of God.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you guys are traveling all over the world as he's preaching, going from city to city and things of this nature. And how long were you like his minister of music?
Wow. I mean, had to be what, 5, 6, 7 years, man. I was with him for a while. Yeah. And as his right hand.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, if you saw him, you saw me.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And like previously when you were musicians in other places, you was kind of still dabbling in the streets.
Exactly. Yeah.
Was that still a struggle for you now you're under Apostle McCoy?
No, because, like I said, man, there was a complete change in my life. I used to tell Apostle all the time. I say, man, I kept seeing when I was a little boy, I would always see this hand come down in the pit and pull me up, man. I say, now I know what hand that was. I looked at his hand. I'm like, man, that was your hands, man. That used to come and pull me and pick me up. You know what I mean? And even to this day, he's been like, I'd say my big brother, you know what I mean? But he's really been like a big savior, you know what I mean, man? That God has used him to oversee, a lot of stuff for me.
Wow, amen. That's a blessing. So, and what's crazy is because now, as of course, you're musically inclined, talented, playing as a musician, and also you had a record deal at a young age, you and your brothers.
Right.
And just to kind of take a little step back, I heard you mention this. Now, you really got to know what you're talking about, and you really, really just can't be playing around. But you said you take it that you discovered MC Hammer. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, truth of the matter is, I saw him sitting on a couch, man, at Fantasy Records. Had to be 6-7 hours. You know what I mean? And the guy that he was looking for was in the studio with me. I was producing Lenny Williams at the time from Tower of Power. And he was looking for a guy by the name of Fred Pittman, who was the A&R for Fantasy. Well, Fred Pittman was in the studio with me, like I said, and I was producing one of Fred's artists at the time, which was Lenny. And so Hammer at the time, Stanley Kurt at the time, he was dressed real nice, man, had a suit, tie on, so I walked over to him after seeing him sitting there for so many hours. I had been coming in and out, getting stuff out the vending machines and stuff. So I asked him, I said, hey, man, who are you looking for? What are you doing? Oh, man, I'm here to see Fred Pittman, man, and da-da-da-da-da. They say he's coming down from upstairs in a minute, man. I say, Fred ain't coming down from upstairs, man. I say, Fred is in the studio with me right now. I say, he say, what? I say, yeah, but hey, man, look, let's go get some lunch, man. And, when I get back, I'll introduce you to Fred. And so that's what happened, real story. And when I got back, I introduced him to Fred. Fred didn't want to see him because we were producing Lenny Williams, and he's no. So Fred had a girlfriend by the name of Cynthia who ran Fred. You know what I'm saying? So I say, Cynthia. I say, I knew how to get Fred attention. I say, Cynthia. I say, I want you to check this guy out, man. His name is the Holy Ghost Boys. That's what he was going by at the time. The Holy Ghost Boys. Him and this guy by the name of Darrell. So Hammer got to doing this thing. Kurt got to doing this thing. And Cynthia was like, have you showed him to Fred? And I was like, no, I've been trying to show Fred this cat, but Fred ain't looking. She grabbed Hammer by the hand and she said, come here. And she went in there. She said, Fred, that got his attention. Check this dude out. And so Hammer was, these words I'm saying, they most sound bold, but go what? I'm stepping on toes. He had a song called Stepping on Toes, man. The boy could always dance. And so Fred was like, boy, I'm going to make you a star. You know what I mean? And so, even though Fred's deal with Hammer didn't work out, Fred signed him to Knob Hill Records, which was a label that Fred was doing for himself, but Fred didn't do the right thing by Hammer. You know what I mean? As a matter of fact, I think Fred tried to charge Hammer like $6,000 or something to do his album. And it was just crazy stuff that wasn't supposed to happen in the music game. See, and I didn't know nothing about that. But through my introduction to Fred, Hammer met his producers, which produced Can't Touch This and everything else. I put him in the game. He met Felton Pilot, which was with Confunction. Felton Pilot was Hammer's producer for a while. He met James Early, who produced stuff for him. I don't know all the songs, but I know his hit making producers were part of our crew.
Wow.
And that's why I say I discovered it.
Man, that's good history. Mm-hmm. And that was God using you to usher him into that room, because it probably wouldn't have happened that way if he just would have talked to the guy.
Exactly.
It probably wouldn't have went that way.
Exactly.
But God using you to talk to his wife,
right,
having that wisdom to go through her,
right,
showing her him, and then taking him back to the same guy,
right,
gave a different output, gave a different outcome.
Right.
So
and it dawned on me, it was so funny because I remember when Hammer had You Can't Touch This out, and he came to Augusta, and I wanted to holler at him because, this is my dude. I used to live with him. You know what I'm saying, man? After that, I lived with him for a minute, him and his wife, Stephanie. And, I wanted to see him, and, he became this great icon, MC Hammer. And so once I got to the Sheraton Hotel, I saw Felton, which was the producer that was producing Lenny's album with me at the time. And I said, Felton, I said, hey, man, I want to holler at Hammer. He said, have you seen Kurt, man? You seen him? I say, no. He said, okay, man, well, let me go get him for you. So I remember Hammer, and I'm saying this just to say that Felton put me in perspective of how it all went down. I'd even forgot how it went down, you know what I mean? And so he had Hammer on the phone. He's like, Hammer, Derrick Monk down here want to holler at you, man. I heard Hammer say, you can hear him through the phone, I don't know no Derrick Monks. I don't know Derrick Monk. You know what I mean? And Felton said, you don't know the Derrick Monk that introduced you to me? You know what I mean? Okay, Derrick, yeah, Derrick. Okay, tell Derrick I'll be down. And I was like, you don't remember Derrick Monk? You know what I mean? I was like, okay, but at the end of the day, man, when he did come down, it was all gravy, man. We had a wonderful time, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. It's amazing. It's just astounding how the music industry, will change people.
Oh yeah.
It has its pros, it has its cons.
Right.
At one day a person can be at the bottom of the barrel, not be able to provide for themselves or their families.
Right.
And overnight, because as record deals, it's crazy how record deals was given in those days versus now. Now a person, all they have to do is go viral on TikTok.
Right.
All you had to do is stumble on somebody singing in the streets, and boom, they got a record deal if the right person saw them.
Exactly.
So it's just amazing how times shifted, and it just is similar in both time periods. But fast forwarding now, you being around all that greatness, now you're playing as a music minister down in Augusta, Georgia, and the time span you playing under Apostle Derrick McCoy and Trumpet in Zion. Now you get exposed to another level of the music industry, and you come in contact with James Brown.
Right.
Tell me how that played out.
Oh man, that was crazy because me and Apostle McCoy, there's still a Hammer thing in that, because when Hammer got big and he came to Augusta that same time, he told me, Derrick, I'm gonna sign you to a gospel deal. I'm gonna put you to Busted Records, because he had Busted Records, you know what I mean? And I'm gonna sign you to Busted, and I'm gonna let you do my gospel division. You're gonna be my gospel artist. I said, okay, so I'm excited, man. I run to the Apostle with some contracts, and I'm like, Apostle, I say, because now what I'm thinking is, because we're doing music at Trumpet and Zion, you know what I mean? So I'm thinking this gonna be great, man. We got to put these records out, you know what I mean? I say, Apostle, Hammer signing me to Busted Records, man. You want to do a gospel deal with me? Apostle said, all right, because Apostle like, I don't really need Hammer. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you do, but I don't. I'm on another whole thing. You know what I'm saying? And he was like, well, you can get with this, or you can get with that, Whichever way you want to do it's on you, you know what I mean? But at that time, man, if you're a real man, you kind of want to do your own thing, man. I got tired of every time I needed something, man. I had to go to a Pops, man, I need this, I need that. And I'm like, man, maybe this is a way for me to get my own thing, And I made the decision, man, to step off, you know what I mean? And do my own thing, man. And at that time, the Busted deal went busted, you know what I mean? And Hammer was going down. He was on his decline. But then again, like I say, I used to tell Apostle all the time, man, when James Brown get out of jail, I'm going to be his right-hand man. I'm going to be the right-hand man. I'm going to produce records on James Brown and everything. Remember, I'm speaking these things, man, and I'm like, and Apostle was like, okay, all right, yeah, I know, okay, right. Because this is my pops, man. I tell him everything, man. I'm talking to him. And not only is he my pops, he's my partner. We like this, man. So at the end of the day, but you got to be careful, man, when you're telling people stuff, because you never know how it's offended him. Because I was young and dumb, I didn't know that could have been offending him because, man, look, I done been taking care of you and looking out for you all this time. But I'm excited because, music has always been my thing, man. I wasn't trying to be offensive, you know what I mean? Out of being naive, I was speaking these things, man, And so at the end of the day, when James Brown got out of prison, everything that I said came to pass, man. I was driving down Laney Walker Boulevard in Augusta, Georgia. They used to have a Church's Chicken there, man, and I saw this big black limousine outside, man. I was like, man, if that's the Godfather. See, because I had left the church, right? I had left Trump. Now I don't have nothing. I'm back down to zero again. And I'm driving this car that Hammer got me, man. Hammer sent me a check. And I'm driving the car, and it's a putt-putt, it's a point A to point B car. And I looked over to the side, man, and I see this limo. I was like, man, if that's James Brown, I'm going to get out and holler at him. And lo and behold, it was James Brown, man. So, I jumped out the car. And at that time, man, I'm almost back into selling the dope thing, because I ain't got nothing to do. I'm contemplating slanging again. But I had told God, man, I really don't want to do that. You know what I mean? Because I truly believe, man, that once you make a vow to the Lord, you got to stick with it, man, or some dangerous stuff will start happening to you. Because I was raised in the church. I understand that God has a wrath as well. You know what I mean? So I was a little leery about that, but I saw James Brown got out the thing, and I'm standing there tattooed up, man, hair all over my head. I said all that to say because I'm looking wild, boy. I'm looking Georgia South, down South Georgia, boy, hard now. You know what I mean? So I'm standing there and high as a Georgia pine, man, off that weed. And I see the Godfather, and I'm smiling, man. And he look at me, and I look at him. He look at me, and I look at him. Second time he did, I said, man, if he look at me again, I'm going to get his attention. You know what I'm saying? Lo and behold, he looked again. And I said, excuse me. I stuck my hand up, and he was like, yeah, how can I help you? And I walked over to him. The security guard put his hand up. Nah, man, hold up. James Brown said, nah, let him by. I want to talk to him. And so I walked by, and I got close to him. He said, yeah, how can I help you, son? I said, Mr. Brown, I'm Derrick Monk. Man, that man smiled from ear to ear, man, when I said my name. He said, son, they tell me you play the hell out of an organ. I say, no, I'm okay. Nah, that ain't what they tell me. They tell me you play the hell out of an organ. I want you to come to my rehearsal. I want to hear you play. I say, okay. He said, meet me at the Imperial. So I go to the Imperial Theater, and when I walk into the arena, he say, cut! His band was working. He cut! Bring that organ out here. They tell me this man can play the organ. I want to hear him play. And so I said, God, if you ever bless me to play, if you ever bless me to play, God, I need to play tonight. You know what I mean? And so I turned the organ on, man, and I began to just play. Just going crazy, man, doing shouting music and other stuff, man, just, doing the organ thing, man, whipping the drawbars and stuff. Man, James Brown jumped this high off the ground. Can play that organ. He said, son, can you play and sing? And I began to play and sing. He said, that's it. He my A&R man. Son, you're going to produce everybody in my organization. You're going to produce the background singers, the band. You're going to produce this. You're going to produce me. You're going to produce everybody. You my A&R man. And so that night, man, he made me the A&R man for the new James Brown Enterprises in Augusta, Georgia. And he looked at his guy that was standing next to him, which was Judge Al Bradley. He said, give him $1,000. No, he didn't. He said, give him a yard. And I'm like, what is a yard? Give him a G. And Judge went in his pocket, gave me 1,000 once. And I put it in my pocket. And I said, wow, because at this time, remember, I'm broke, man. I ain't got no money. My lights off at the crib. Nobody know that, man. I'm going through. And then James Brown looked at me again, and he looked at the manager again. He said, give him another one. Give him another G. So he gave me $2,000 that night. Then he looked at me and said, now I know you can't pay me back. You know what I mean? So what he was saying was, I'm locked in. You know what I mean? Yeah, meet me at my office tomorrow morning. And me and James Brown became like this, man. We became best friends.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. It's just something, man, how God do these overnight transitions.
Oh, it's crazy.
In your life, man.
Yeah.
From as soon as you think you're just at the bottom,
right,
God just cuts the hole at the bottom.
Right.
It just gives you a new beginning
I was
from
just
one stage to
I was
another
just on the
stage.
phone with the apostle, man, and he said you can't kill purpose. Yeah, he said you can't kill purpose, man. When your life is predestined and there's a purpose, man, ain't not gonna happen to you till that purpose was fulfilled, man. After the meeting, and I became the A&R man for his company, man. We had our little thing, and the reason why he knew I was his right hand is because one day he told me, he said, "Son, we sitting at the table there at the Sheraton restaurant. Son, do you read music?" I said, "No, sir, I don't read any music, man." He's like, "Well, Judge, I can't use him. He don't read music." You know what I mean? He's like, and so now you done hurt my feelings, because he said, "That's what I say. You know, these white kids, they go to school, read music. They run rings around these black kids. The kids don't know how to read music." And he hurt my feelings when he said that, man. And so I said, "Hold up, excuse me." And Judge hit me on my shoulder, hit me on my knee, like, "Shut up, you finna blow it." You know what I mean? I was like, "Nah, I got to get him." I got to get him. He's like, "Hey, you know, the white kids." I say, "Hold up." I say, "Excuse me, sir." He say, "Yes, yeah. How can I help you, man?" I say, "Mr. Brown, out of all due respect," I say, "Nah, I don't read music, and I didn't go to school to read music." I say, "Well, Mr. Brown, I'm kind of like you. You didn't go to school to read music either." I say, "But you created something that made everybody want to be a part of it." I say, "And before I let a white boy out funk me, I create a funk so hard, make a white boy want to go to the music store and buy the paperwork and learn how to play it." But Brown said, "My man." He reached over and reached. He said, "My man." I said, "Nah, they're not going to out-funk me, dog. You can forget that. That's just like me telling you somebody go out-funk you." You know what I'm saying?
Real recognize real.
Right. You know, man, he loved me ever since that, man. See, but the point is he didn't like a yes man. So I can imagine him loving Apostle McCoy on the paper on the thing, and him respecting that.
Yeah. So how long was your tenure with James Brown?
Wow, till he died, man. Until he died. I got with James Brown. Wow. I got with James Brown, had to be 1991, 92. And until 2006, I even sang at his funeral. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I did see a clip of you singing at his funeral, which was very massive. So what's that like? What, 15 years? 15?
Almost 15, 17 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And you got a chance to travel all over the world with him.
I mean, G5 and G6, and you know, it was funny because my uncle had me crack it up. I told my uncle Roy, man, I was like, "I'm with James Brown," and Roy was like, "Yeah, okay, right, yeah, you with James Brown." So we had to do Oakland, right? And my uncle said he was walking down the street by the pavilion, and he saw James Brown coming to town. So he saw James Brown's bus. And I'm telling you this to show you how close I got with James Brown. So my uncle said he walked over to the bus and he saw some people getting off. He's like, "Hey, my nephew say he played with James Brown. He with James Brown." He said, "Y'all know Derrick Monk?" He said, "Oh yeah, he don't travel with us. He come in with James Brown. He rides with, you know, he flies in with the Godfather." Yeah. My uncle said, he said, "Oh." Okay, so he top, you know, and I was like, "Yeah, I told you, man. I'm not a part of the band. You know, I'm his right hand musically."
That's dope.
Yeah,
that's dope. So man, just God having your hand on you, just from Oakland all the way to Augusta, Georgia, being with James Brown in those years. Like, what are some things that you learned musically and as a man being with James Brown?
Wow. I mean, just so much, man. That's another whole story, man. That would be an entire 2-3 page interview. You know what I mean? I've learned so much, man. But just one quick thing that I learned from James Brown is the music business is nothing but a lie. And this is a book coming out soon that I'm going to do, man. I really need to do a documentary of my life with the Godfather. But, you know, he taught me that everything about the music industry was a lie. You know, he told me, "Son, we sell hype, we buy none. And this music industry ain't nothing but a lie." He say, "People believe whatever you put out there. If you go out there and tell them that you the soul brother number one, you the Godfather soul, there's nobody greater, and you keep pumping that, people believe what they hear." You know what I'm saying? So He taught me that, man, and taught me that, like I used to think on these videos that the boats and these big cars and these houses that the artists owned them. Come to find out, man, everything was hype. You know what I mean? Those things was leased and rented, and man, it's a lot of wisdom that I want to share with the young people, man, that's coming up in this industry today, that needs to understand, man, that this is all a joke. It's not real. It's real. It's not real. And if you believe it's real, that's when you get caught up in the hype. And we sell hype, we buy none.
Wow. So being up under him, you're the public perception is one thing. You're seeing the money, you're seeing the cars, you're seeing the lavish life, and it's really all a lie.
It's really all a lie. Yeah, it's not real, man. And it's to be marketed and branded. And if it's not marketed and branded, if you're not marketed or branded correctly, you won't sell records. You know what I mean? I fell out with this person not too long ago because they tried to make me believe that 1 million streams is platinum. 1 million streams is not platinum. 1 million streams is almost zero. You need 150 million streams to become platinum. You know what I mean? 1 million units sold. Now that means 1 million CDs sold is platinum. Yeah, and that's the reason why I'm trying to get back to the selling the CDs, because this new way of streaming, you may not ever get people to stream your record, man. I tell people all the time, I've been on the internet since the internet started. There's a company called The Orchard, which is a distribution company. I was with The Orchard when The Orchard started, man. I remember The Orchard starting back in the 90s. I've made less than $5,000 since I've been with The Orchard with streams, man, and stuff like that. And my point is, unless you're marketing that stuff on online, and you got a marketing campaign behind it, even if you're online, you got to put some type of marketing strategy behind these records being sold. And that's the reason why you get your Taylor Swifts and all these other Drakes and all these folks selling those big looking good online, because they got people putting the money behind it. So if you don't have the money to put behind what you're putting online, you're still gonna be broke. You know what I'm saying?
And just to touch on that, it's just amazing how these artists in these genres, how they really market their music nowadays is very a poison to our community, because beef is what's selling. Like,
right.
Controversy is what's selling. If I'm in it, if I got a grudge with this other artist, that's gonna make the streams go up, because everybody is promoting violence against one another.
Exactly.
They got rappers that's dissing each other's dead friends, dead families, that's making streams go up. Everybody's buying, streaming into that. And so that's crazy how marketing is all a lie. And what was another crazy thing, reality is really becoming mainstream. When I say reality,
people believe what they hear. And what they see. You understand what I'm saying? So the point that I'm making is, to what you're saying is absolutely correct, man. They buying hype. You know what I'm saying? And I don't buy hype, man. I sell hype. You know what I'm saying? So that's why even today, I sell more CDs. Even though people don't have CD players no more and they're trying to be distinct with the CD stuff, people will buy your CD if it's nothing but just for a souvenir. You understand what I'm saying? Just to say that I went to that show. That's why even today in my car right now, I keep boxes of my CDs, man, because I don't make money off the internet. And one day people are going to realize, man, that this internet thing, the whole record label thing, man, is extinct right now. I mean, you really don't have a gospel label at all. You know what I mean? And unless these churches are booking you and bringing you in, that's why you really got to be anointed nowadays, man. God really got to have his hand on your life. You really got to have something that you're talking about that's changing people's lives nowadays to make money in the gospel arena. Otherwise, you become a secular, I would say a secular disgrace gospelly, because now you're selling out. You know what I mean? You got, I ain't mention the names, but man, you got folk, man, partying and gigging and jerking harder than you do Beyonce in the gospel arena right now. You understand what I'm saying? Only because they're trying to get with the Joneses. Well, I was always told the gospel is different, man. We're supposed to be different, you know. Um, if you're gonna, there's gonna, and I speak this as a prophet, man. There's gonna be a change in the arena, man, where people are going to want that real gospel music again, man. They want to cry again. People want something that's gonna change their life, man. And that's where I'm getting back to. I'm getting back to true holiness with my singing. James Moore told me before he died. He said, "Derrick, this contemporary mess, it ain't gonna last." He say, "Son, get you some hymns. Yeah. Go back to singing some of them hymns. Change some of them hymns up." He said, "Continue to work till Jesus come." Wow. And my thing is I truly believe that, man. And it's going to be a time. I'm telling you. I said this and people thought I was crazy, but you watch what I tell you. Just the way they hitting R. Kelly, just the way they hitting Puff Daddy, just the way they hitting all this stuff, it's coming to the gospel. And when that thing hit the gospel, man, you ain't seen, you know, it's a thing where, and I tried to hit this on another interview, and the interviewer tried to stop me because he's like, "I don't want to talk about that." But, man, you know, the T.D. Jakes thing, that don't surprise me. You understand what I'm saying? But his thing isn't that's not the thing that's going to happen. The devil is going to attack this gospel arena in a way like you never seen. And the people that he's going to expose is going to almost eliminate gospel music, period. That's why we're going to have to really get back to true holiness, and people not believing, how can I put this, and people not buying the hype but believing what's real and what God got his hand on. It's going to get back to that.
That's good. Because what's amazing is I heard Donnie McKirkland said this what he said was true. A lot of music that's being sung is not gospel music. It's inspirational. It makes you feel good. But when you're singing about the death, the burial, the resurrection of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, when you're singing pretty much the word, you know, some of those hymns were derived from scriptures. You understand what I'm saying?
Right. Well,
it was derived about the life of Jesus.
Right.
A lot of what you hear nowadays is not really, you know, like he said, gospel music.
It's not.
It's not gospel music.
It's not. You know, and even God used the devil to tell the truth. You know what I'm saying? And I ain't calling Donald McClurkin the devil, but I'm just saying, man, the devil, the truth got to be told. Whoever tell it. You understand what I'm saying? So my thing is, man, is yes, he's absolutely correct, man. This thing has got to get back to real holiness, and that's why preachers like Apostle McCoy, man, is going to be so relevant in this time. People are running back, man. They want to get back to life-changing ministry and not just feel good. You know, like I said, when I got with the apostle, man, my life changed. It wasn't just because I wanted to look good or feel better. It was because I wanted to really, really be better.
Really wanted to be better.
Yeah, I wanted to be better, man. And so when I got with the apostle, man, I began to be better, think better, do better. And man, that's what we got to do. We got to make music to make people want to be better, man.
That's good. That's good. Just if you don't mind me, another tangent. While traveling with him, now I heard his son come in. I had Brother Raphael come in, and I asked them these stories. You know, did you see some miracles and things like that? You know, traveling with Brother Raphael said he saw a man come back to life after he had died in the church. Did you see any things go on in his ministry while you were traveling with him?
Man, I seen so much. I mean, just everything they seen, I seen double. You know what I mean? I seen him call out names, man, of people, man, that I know he didn't know these folks. You know what I mean? And, you know, when God give you somebody's name, and you prophesying, you know, some people usually have a little thing in his ear. I was trying to see, man, do he got something in his ear? You know, I'm on the Oregon, man. I'm like, what's in his ear? He just called that lady's son name, or he just called her, you know. I've seen a lot of powerful things, man. I've seen people get up and walk, man. I've seen, you know, people hear. I remember one time we was in England, man, and, you know, he snapped in one brother ear, snapped in another brother here, man. You know, just all kind of stuff, man.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
And I heard him mention that it was a greater move of God in England than it was in America.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, I mean the people loved him out there, man, and even in Jamaica, man. I mean, we was doing things and doing revivals in Jamaica, man, and it's like we were in barns, almost like a barn, man. And I'm like, wow, man, and the people's just packed in this place, man. And I mean, dust all over the place, man. We churching, we having church, man. I've had some great experiences traveling with the apostle.
Amen. Amen. Now, fast forward. Now, I did hear you mention this one time. You were asked, what was your experience with Christ? And you said you really didn't come to the Lord yet, that official, until you was around about 40 years old.
Absolutely, man.
Kind of walk me through that. What do you mean by that?
You could be in church all your life, man. And you could know how to clap your hands. You could know how to do your dance. You could know how to sing your song, but you could still be living wrong. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, I knew formality, man. I know how to Ishata glory. I could do that, because I was raised up in it. But I didn't really know who God was until I lost my eyesight, man. 2007. Was it 2007? No, 2004. I started using the bathroom on myself in the bed, man. I used to be 400 pounds, man. And so, I was using the bathroom and I was getting high, smoking weed and, doing my thing. But something was wrong with me, man. And every time I hit the joint, it was, I was higher than what I was supposed to be. So I was like, man, something ain't right with me. And then using the bathroom, I'm like, man, I'm a grown man. I don't use the bathroom on myself. Unknowingly doing it. You know what I mean? So I said, let me go to the hospital. And I went to the doctor and I was telling my doctor about it, and everything I said to her, she was saying diabetes, 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 diabetes. And so, man, come to find out, I had diabetes, and she told me I could beat it if I just lose weight. You know what I mean? And so, but she told me at the time that I went to see her, my glucose was like 1,000. You know what I mean? She said, man, it's a wonder you ain't in somebody's bed in a coma somewhere. She said, I don't believe this. I lost my eyesight, man. I couldn't see the time on my watch. I couldn't see none of that, man. And, and I flew to California, man. My mom prayed for me, and she got this blood stall, and she used to lay her hands on me, and she prayed. And I really went blind, man. I mean, 90% blind. I couldn't see, Doc. And, man, and nothing like losing your eyesight, being able to see, then lose your eyesight, man. And when I left Oakland, man, I asked God that if he restored my eyesight, man, and heal my body, that I would really get back and do the right thing. Man, when I left California, my eyesight was back, man. I was healed. I started losing weight, man, and I got healed, man. And I realized, wow, I didn't know who Jesus was, man, until I went through a life-threatening situation. Then I realized who Jesus really was. I really had to lean and depend on God, man, at that time. And that's when I realized who Jesus was.
Your faith really was tested.
Exactly.
It's amazing because, like you said, you can have the formalities.
Oh, yeah, you just know how to do it.
You just know how to do it. You're around it. You grow up. You see the speaking in tongues. You see, okay, this is what I have to wear to look holy. Right. This is what I have to do to seem holy.
Yeah,
maybe
get you a white shirt and a black suit.
Right.
I mean, a clean one.
Yeah.
You say.
and, know what I mean? and just maybe, this will I'll become safer. People just think like that.
Right.
But you really didn't know who Jesus was until he took you through something personally.
Absolutely.
And when people go through a situation like that, you can never take that away from them. Like, I know he's real.
Oh, yeah. No, man. I mean, hey, bro, I know there's a God somewhere. There's a God somewhere. You know what I mean? And I know that Jesus is real, man. And you can't tell me that he's not. And that's why, man, I'm sold out to, people. I get people all the time. You need to do an R&B song. I'm not thinking about another R&B record, man. I ain't thinking about a club. You know what I'm saying? I'm a die in Christ, man.
Man.
Yeah.
Brother Monk, looking at all of what God has taken you through, originating in Dallas, Texas, God shifting you to Oakland, California, then shifting you through Las Vegas, Nevada, then shifting you to Augusta, Georgia, All of these phases, God is walking you from one phase to the next phase to the next phase to the next phase. Through all of that, what are you really grateful for that God has really done for you?
Just being alive, being able to tell my testimony, man. Uh, you know, my daughter dying and getting murdered, man, in Las Vegas, Nevada, man. Now in Vallejo, California, man. And him blessing me to not lose my mind. Man, that was my firstborn, man. And my daughter was shot in the head. The way she was killed, man, was just mind blowing. And I'm grateful, man, that through it all, he's kept me through it all, man. And didn't let me lose my mind through the drugs, through the cocaine, through the alcohol, through all that I've been through. He's kept his hand on my life, man, and kept me sane. I'm grateful unto God, man, that I'm still here.
Amen. Amen. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you none other than once again my brother Derrick Monk. I thank you once again for coming in and telling your testimony. It's what I want people to see, like you said, what the public perception is, the music industry, is all hype.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, God is real.
Oh, yeah.
And if you really establish a true relationship with Him, there's no limit to what He can do in your life.
That's right.
Because everything else that you lean on in life, you'll find out that you can't do nothing without Him. One of my favorite songs is an old hymn that really touched me. He said, "Without God, I can do nothing.
That's right.
Without Him, I fail.
That's right.
Without Him, I'm nothing but just a ship without a sail."
That's right.
And when you really understand that for yourself, you'll understand that, hey, it's through Him that I live, that I move, and that I have my being.
Absolutely.
And so sometimes that may take years, just like yourself. You'll have a knowledge about God, but not really knowing Him.
Exactly.
And sometimes it takes you going through certain trials and situations, circumstance, for you to know who He really is.
Come on, Doc.
You can know about Him.
Right.
You can hear about Him, but when you really go through something to where He becomes real in your life, makes you appreciate Him more.
Oh, yeah.
And I being saved at a young age, me personally, I don't have the story of being raised in the streets or anything like that. And I used to listen to like stories like, redemption stories like yourself and others. And I'm like, God, man, I don't have no story like that in the scripture. I read a scripture said, "To him that has been forgiven much, loves much."
Right.
And that made me think like, God, I ain't been through enough. But as you keep on living,
that's all you gotta do is keep on living.
You keep on living, and you go through some things to where can't nobody help you through those situations but God. That scripture really becomes real to you.
Oh, yeah.
When you really need God to forgive you, rescue you, heal you, deliver you, that love for Him grows in moments like that.
Yes, sir.
So I can see that in your life because it wasn't nobody but God in these moments in your life.
Right.
It couldn't have been. It wasn't a amount of money. Anybody that can come in and rescue you in the situations that you were dealing with throughout your life. So you are a testament.
Amen.
Your story is a testimony to what God has, is, and will do for anybody that listens to your story. So I'm excited once again for you coming in and share your story. If you don't mind, take us out with a moment of prayer.
Father God, we love you, Jesus, and we magnify your holy name. God, I ask right now, Jesus, that you bless each and every one that see this interview, God. Lord God, don't let my words go out void, God, but let it go out and touch somebody, God, to want to be better, God, to want to do better, Father. Lord God, I ask right now that you bless the sick and those that are shut in, God. We know you're a healer. We know you are a deliverer, God. Those that are bound on drugs, those that are bound with alcohol, sex addictions, whatever it is, God. We know that you are able and you are a deliverer, God. And God, if we put our trust and we depend on you, you're able and just enough to do what we need you to do in our lives. God, I ask that you bless Brother Lacey. God, bless this camera crew. God, Lord, let them see the level that you want them to go in, God, which we know, God, is greater than our own imaginations, God. We know that you're bigger and better than we could ever imagine. God, we ask these wonderful blessings in your wonderful name. We pray. Thank you, Father, and thank you, and amen.
Amen. Brother Derrick Monk, till next time, be blessed.
My brother.
My brother.